Mrs. Crime, Mr. Wade, bringing you the stories. Stay tuned for a lot more. Today's unfortunate story is about Rhonda Bell Martin. She was an American serial killer and family inhalator who was executed by the state of Alabama for the murder of Claude Carroll Martin, her fourth husband, in the year of 1951. Martin's method of murder was rat poison. She was also accused of poisoning and murdering her own mother, as well as her 5 of her 7 children, all of whom were below the age of 12 at their deaths. Only one of her victims, her former stepson and 5th husband, Ronald Martin, was known to have survived. Although she initially confessed to all the murders she was accused of committing, she later recanted her confession in the murders of 2 of her children. Martin's execution made her the 3rd and final woman to be electrocuted in Alabama before the Furman versus Georgia ruling, as well as the last woman put to death in the state until the year of 2002. Rhonda Bell Tomley was born around 1907 in Alabama to James Robert Tomley and Mary Frances. Prior to her arrest, she worked as a waitress. At the time of her arrest, she lived in Montgomery, Alabama. She later confessed in March the year of 1956 to poisoning her mother, 2 husbands, and 3 of her children. She denied killing 2 other children. According to a magazine company article published at that time, she loved getting the get well cards and later the sympathy cards that came when the victims died. She took great care to have them buried side by side in a private lot. Her 5th husband, Ronald Martin, formerly her stepson, as he was the son of Claude Carroll Martin, was poisoned like others. However, he survived and was left paraplegic. It was his illness that led authorities to look into the strange deaths surrounding Martin. Prosecutors said collecting insurance proceeds prompted her killing spree, although this is unlikely since she collected only enough to cover burial costs, and she never admitted this was the case. Martin was arrested in March the year of 1956. Martin was convicted of murdering 51-year-old Claude Carroll Martin in the year of 1951 and surreptitiously feeding him rat poisoning. Although Martin was only convicted of 1 murder, she admitted to committing every murder she was suspected of, except for 2 of the children. Because Martin had a heart condition, prison officials usually withheld information from her regarding her scheduled execution dates until the dates were very, very clear. The day before her execution, Martin had a clemency hearing that lasted for 2 hours, during which her defense attorney unsuccessfully attempted to stop the execution on grounds that Martin's sanity had not been adequately tested. Martin was housed in the Jefferson County Jail until late May of the year of 1957, as her execution was set for May 31st. She was transformed to Kilby Prison, where Alabama's electric chair was located. When that execution date was postponed, she was sent to the Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women. 8 days before her execution, Martin gave an interview in which she said, "Well, you've never seen anybody who was ready to sit down in an electric chair. But if that was just got to be, that's what it will be." She was eventually housed at the Julia Tutwiler prison until approximately 4 hours before her execution, when she was sent back to Kilby Prison. 7 hours prior to her execution, Martin had a last meal consisting of a hamburger, mashed potatoes, cinnamon roll, and coffee. On October 11th, the year of 1957, Martin was led to Alabama's electric chair where she'd held a Bible in her hand. Martin was reportedly calm but quietly wept at her execution as she recited the 23rd Psalm alongside the prison chaplain. She received the first shock at 12:10 a.m. and she pronounced was dead at 12:16 a.m. and removed from the death chamber at 12:25 a.m. She declined to have or make a final statement. Martin's execution featured a slight mishap prior to the time she received the first shock. As her executioners threw her switch activating electricity before the electrodes were ready to use, Martin had to wait several minutes with the electric cycle was finished before authorities could complete her execution. In the year of 1956, Martin had expressed a desire for her body to be sent to an unspecified scientific institution for autopsy, so scientists could analyze her and find out why she committed her crimes. After her execution, prison officials found a note expressing a similar sentiment. Martin's note read, in part, that she wanted physicians to find out why I committed the crimes I committed. I can't understand it, for I had no reason whatsoever. There's definitely something wrong. And instead, after her execution, some family members received her body in a funeral home in Montgomery. Martin was the last woman executed in Alabama in the year of 2002, when Linda Leon Block was executed for the murder of a policeman.